Welcome to the channel, as today we begin our journey into the conception of a decentralized AI. We'll watch it grow as well as be on the front lines of the proof of useful work that is a hybrid machine learning and blockchain. And what I'm talking about is right here, ChatGPR33. Now, this is just a testnet phase. As it is getting more power, there's plans to create an incentive plan, apps, train your own, have user interfaces, all sorts of pretty cool stuff. But before we get there, let's talk about testing and hardware. So this is new computing style, unlike crypto mining has been before. So because more than math equations, headers, and this will require more than the GPU to power up the big brain Pepe. I'll just tease this right here. The people doing this are actually the original Pepe coin, founded in 2016. You can thank Big Brain Pepe for all this AI. He's the one that is leading everybody, and you can catch Prometheus and Demus in Telegram and also in Discord. I'll leave the links in the description down below. I'll also be doing a video on who these guys are, OG Pepe, and what the actual history of it. Just so we know, it's not that token. So what do you need? This video is going to be geared towards starting it up as a Linux. I will be doing a Windows version here pretty soon, but I wanted to get something out that just made it easier for people to understand, or at least gave them guidance so they knew what each step was along the way. Just do me a favor, make sure you like and subscribe for more content and watch the front lines where this innovation is going to lead us and where you can find the up-to-date information about this project and where it's headed. So, hardware. Ideally, there's going to be some like bare minimum, but then there's some ideal stuff that would be nice, but you know, it's not always going to be there. So what you need ideally would be 50 megabyte upload speed. Minimum 20 megabytes is going to be the bare minimum where you can kind of get away with it. I personally have the 20. So it is what it is. Sometimes getting fiber can be hard. So a CPU, now what this is going to take is you're going to want a minimum of 8 threads. That's going to be 4 threads for the operating system, 4 threads for each GPU that you will have connected. So if you only have one GPU on there, it's going to be 8 threads. If you got 2 GPUs, you're looking at 12 threads. If you got, 4 GPUs on there, it's going to be 20 threads. Get into that thread ripper action, There's going to be some options out there. It'd be pretty interesting. So you're going to want 1 terabyte minimum, but 2 terabyte preferred SSD. Your GPU has to be NVIDIA at this time. Sorry, Team Red. I really hope you guys find somewhere you can actually go. But with that said, your GPU needs to be in a 4x slot or higher PCI lane. Crypto mining risers were only a 1x, so that's going to actually not give you the optimal speed that you're going to need to participate in this. The only risers that are going to work are the 16x risers, but those ones are like the long wide ones that look like almost like an old ribbon. Also, for your GPU, you're going to need at least 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So cards like 1070 Ti, the 1080, these can be deployed for this. And so on up through the 2060 Supers, you got 2070s, your 2080s, your 30 series cards almost across the board, and definitely your 40 series cards. Those will definitely be pretty cool to deploy on here, but at least it gives some use to the older cards as well. But remember, they need to be direct connect with the motherboard with at least a 4x lane. Now, the RAM on your motherboard, now this has to equal out the amount of VRAM that you have on your GPU. So this is almost a two-parter, and I'll explain why. So the first part about it is you want enough RAM as a GPU. In example, on my test rig, I threw on a 3090. Originally, I wanted two 3090s on there. I have the RAM for it. I got the 64 gigabyte RAM because the VRAM between both of those were only going to be 48. But I got bottlenecked. I got bottlenecked on my CPU. Turns out that I didn't look at the memory channel lanes. So I can only add 2 sticks of RAM to it, which gives me 32 gigabytes RAM. So I could do a 3070 and a 3090 on the same motherboard with that setup. But if I want to do the two 3090s, I have to upgrade my processor, which is fine. Again, they're talking about incentivizing this, so this might be something that's worth getting more involved in, or at least learning how to efficiently create your rigs or develop a test rig so you know what kind of pieces you're going to be looking for in the future. There's going to be some I know there's some Chinese motherboards that hold a couple processors but also rip off quite a bit of lanes and can hold a lot of RAM at the same time. So these might be different ways of doing it. Now, I'll also be posting about those type of things later. What kind of rigs that we can use, big, like the most expensive ones, the cheaper ones, different styles, all this stuff you can keep finding. Just like I said, just keep following with this. So now that we covered all that, we got the whole formula for our actual motherboard and everything else figured out. Now we have to actually install Linux 22.04. Now it's pretty easy. I left the links to in the description for this and Rufus, which Rufus is also a program that will take a USB and just turn it into an ISO install file for you. So all you have to do is go to this link, download the 64-bit AMD 64 desktop image. No problem there. Comes up. You'll just save it wherever you'd like. Downloads. Next we go over to the Rufus, which I left this link down there as well. You can just download this right here. Standard portable 64, all that. It's a real small one. And then once you download it, oh, here we go. Get out of there. So, right here is the Ubuntu. You just open it up with the Rufus here. It'll pull up with your little USB drive right here. If now you have multiple, you can select it. You go to select here and you'll pick your install ISO file, loads up the name here. Now you'll be all ready to go. Next thing you do is you just hit start, okay. And then once you hit this okay, it's going to destroy everything that's on that USB and recreate it as a ISO for installing Ubuntu 22.04.2. Now, installing Ubuntu is as easy as installing Windows, but if you want a video on that, leave a comment and I can make it for those people who just want that little bit of extra helping hand. Alright, click OK, and it's deleting partitions and goes through all these steps. As soon as it's done, no problem. Like right now, it's deleted everything. Now it's writing everything to it. So, all right. And I am going to install Ubuntu over there, and I will switch over. All right, guys. So basically, what I did was I get started by just pulling up my Pepe testnet. It's got a few lines of code, which isn't too bad. But all we gotta have to do is mostly just some copy and pasting. And if we get a couple errors, I already added those into this video at the end. This way people will be able to see if they did something wrong, they'll know what they did. So what I did right now is I just copy pasted the first line of code in. This is going to update my NVIDIA drivers up to 530. This is an absolutely fresh install of Linux. There's nothing on here. So basically, yeah, we're just going through doing a little bit of the drivers. It shouldn't take very much longer. All right, cool. So that one's all good to go. Next, we're looking at doing, it doesn't say it on here, but it shows that we need to use a Docker. So the code for that is yep. There it is. Okay, so sudo apt-get install docker.io. First time I tried to do this, I just did the Docker. It didn't work right. It came up a whole thing there. Just push Y and enter, installs it. Bam. All good to go. So after this, we're going to go to the next line of code, which is the sudo docker run, which basically just says go ahead and download the pedals, basically the whole big science. We're doing big brain things and big sciencey things of brains and. All right. So now that's all done. I always get the Docker error response from Daemon cannot select device driver with capabilities. There's a reason for that. It's because we should restart. But I'm just going to go ahead and install Python 3 here with the next command, the Anaconda install. And I'm just going to install that. This next part is pretty straightforward. Copy, paste, let it load for a second. Just push enter, hold enter until you get to the bottom. You'll realize when you're at the bottom when it just keeps telling you yes or no. This time you're going to have to type in yes instead of just Y. And it'll finish installing. Accept that location. There we go. Now, right now is a perfect time to restart your computer once you've actually installed this far, because until you do, the next commands won't work correctly. And see, because you're gonna see here, I'm gonna try it. So I'm gonna say yes, and install finish. It's starting this thing. Cool. Anaconda's running. So then the next thing should be the base envelope setup. So I'll just copy paste the code over, and it does not work. It tries to tell me to do the sudo apt install python 3-pip, which I do. It gets me a little further, but as you'll see, it's not going to be correct. You're better off actually just literally closing the terminal, restarting your computer, and then proceeding forward with the base envelope setup. Okay, so right here I close the terminal, and we'll just reopen that back up here in a second. Cool. I'm just checking to see if it's fully installed. It is not, as you can see. So I'm going to go back and do the full conda command. I'm going to double check my spelling and everything. Yep. Okay. Perfect. So this shows you that you didn't install the conda correctly. So if you punch in the full command, you'll notice right away, after you got to hit Y here, you'll notice right away the install screen is different than previous when we did not close the actual window. So this is a telltale sign, lets you know that you're on the right path. We're getting shorter and shorter from here. I'm going to skip ahead to this install. So the nice thing is at this point is that all you have to do is copy in sudo activate Pepe AI testnet. It opens it up in the conda. So then you have the Python. You'll have the name of it in the beginning, and that'll give you, your strong answer that you have that open. Now, when you hit in that final command, just copy it and paste it. And once you start seeing that little blue word come up with the info, and it starts running through blocks, you should run through 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 for blocks. And once you hit those, it'll actually say start. And from there on, you're running. It's all good to go. There's some cool things I'll let you know. In my personal experience, I've noticed that my card has run pretty cool. At best, 60 degrees Celsius when it was at most activity. The energy will spike around, so sometimes your card's going to be sitting and dull at 25 watts for a 3090. The highest I've seen it spike to is like 260 watts for just a brief, less than 2 seconds, and then it went down to an average about 130 watts. So how this is going to equate out in the incentive plan, I'm not sure. But it's a really curious new way of mining, and I'm excited to share it with you. And I'm also excited that it's useful, and so it's not just wasted computations. So if you like this video, drop a like if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't. There's going to be more material coming out about Pepe. There's more Pepe coin. Let's see, we got also the ChatGPR33. It's a kind of an interesting thing. We're playing around with it. One person actually asked it what the hot dog or what the dogs eat, and it said hot dogs. So I mean, it's kind of like talking to a little kid, but it's still in the test net. So we'll be getting more power online. I'm gonna skip through on the rest of this. At this point in time, from here out, all you got to do is basically just run it again from there. All right. This has been Decentralized AI, and I appreciate your time checking this out. Here's something else for you too, just in case you want to watch. So if you do a second terminal window and you write watch dash n space 2 space nvidia hyphen smi, what this will pull up is a chart that'll show you your fan, your voltage or your wattage, and your temperatures on your GPUs in real time. It refreshes every 2 seconds, so you can just at least feel comfort knowing that you can see some of your sensors. All right, from here on out, you can let it buck. Oh, and the other thing is too, sometimes it looks like it stops running or it stops doing stuff. Just leave it alone. It seems like it takes some breaks every once in a while, which is fine. So if you see it's not frozen when you haven't seen it do anything in the last like half hour or something. Like I said, if you just let it run, everything be all gold and dandy. It's only when it shows a red error and it's timed out and it can't reconnect on a continuous basis, which then you'll probably have to intervene. So anyways, thanks again for your time. Appreciate you guys. Look forward to all this future. Oh, one last thing finally. If you have questions, feel free to just comment them down below. I'll try to answer them as soon as best as I can. And also, if you don't have questions, let me know what you're excited most about this. If you're already familiar with it,